guys? You guys, welcome back to Gotta Love Them Movies, your place to talk about the stuff you love. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown, and I'm here all the time. You guys, today we are starting a little bit earlier than we normally do, than we typically do, and I hope that's okay by you. Now, if you're watching this on playback, hey, no harm, no foul. It is what it is. But for some of you who are more accustomed to the 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time start time, sorry about that. For anyone who is wondering, why are we starting a little bit late? Maybe you didn't catch last week's show. Maybe you didn't have an opportunity to get caught up on why we're starting. We're doing a few things differently. Well, as some of you know, I'm getting married in 16 days. 16 days from today, I will be tying the knot. I will be putting, or rather, she will be putting a ring on it, and I'll be putting a ring on it too. Yeah, really excited. So because I'm getting married in 16 days, which is just, it's blowing my mind, honestly. It's kind of blowing my mind. 38 years I've been single. And now all of a sudden, like, my whole Facebook status is going to change permanently for the rest of my life. Which is trying to wrap my mind around the grandeur of what that means. I can't quite fathom it. But I'm excited. I'm so excited. I love Kim so much. She's the best thing ever in the world. Anyway, you guys, yeah. So if you're wondering why there's all these different what's going on here, because I'm getting married, my whole the whole schedule of everything is kind of being thrown out of whack momentarily, right? So today is Wednesday, September 15th. Obviously, it's a 10 a.m. Start time. Next week, if you want to catch the show, we're doing it at the normal start time. 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 1 o'clock p.m., by the way. But yeah, and then Wednesday, September 29th, I will be getting married in, 2 days? 2 days after the show. So, again, it's to be determined. I don't know if we're going to do a show. I'll be honest. I'm leaning towards probably not. If I don't do a show on Wednesday, September 29th, that means that the channel itself will ostensibly go about 3 weeks without uploading content. I don't know if I want that for the channel. It's going to be hard, whatever. But then Wednesday, September 6th, I will be on my honeymoon in Cabo. So not going to be doing a show while I'm on my honeymoon, you guys. Not going to be doing a show during my honeymoon. So yeah, so if you're wondering what's going on with the schedule, why are there all these different start times, whatever, that's why. So we're not here to talk about my upcoming wedding in 16 days. We're here to talk about movies, movie news, all of that stuff that's coming out. But before we get into all of the meat and potatoes that is movies and cinema and film and theories and conjecture, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button. With the more subscribers we get, the more watched content the channel gets, and with the more watched content the channel gets, I get a better shot at making this show my full-time job. As you know, some of you know I have the little flight attendant job. So, yeah, I want to do this. I like talking movies. That's what I love. Let's help grow the channel together, you guys. And if there's anything you want to talk about specifically, send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com. As long as it's family friendly, we'll make your topic of conversation a main point of discussion here on the show. Anything you want to talk about. If there's a bit of news that I missed, if there's something very specific that you're like, but I have an opinion on this, yeah, let me know. There's the comment, or there's the comment section, either below or off to the side, depending on what format you're watching. But if you want, just send me an email, and we can make all of your dreams come true. All right, you guys. Before we get into our emailed topics, there are two things that we need to cover real quick.
Real quick.
Real quick.
Listen, real quick. Real quick. Real quick. Okay.
All right. So, real quick, you guys. If you are unfamiliar, a couple of days ago, was it yeah, I believe it was 2 days ago, we got a glorious trailer. We got a glorious trailer for Hawkeye. Now, we knew that the Hawkeye series was coming out on Disney Plus this year, later this year, like November, December, somewhere through there. And now it's been officially revealed. We have the trailer. We have not just a first look. I mean, like, Haley Stanfield and Jeremy Renner have kind of been posting photos together on social media of just kind of, hey, here we are on set. Haha, here's a tease. But now we actually get, again, like I said, not just a first look. We've got a whole trailer. And this was a wonderful trailer. Now, online reactions, I don't want to say they've been mixed. They've been more positive than they have been negative. But I've seen a couple of negative reviews out there. Maybe not reviews, but reactions, a few negative reactions. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Watching this trailer, here's what Marvel and Disney Plus are really good at doing. They're really great at marketing these shows, right? They're excellent at marketing these shows. Loki looked spectacular. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that trailer nearly blew my mind. WandaVision was, we didn't know what to expect. We kind of knew what to expect. We really didn't know what to expect. And now the Hawkeye trailer looks phenomenal. And I'm a huge sucker for Christmas, you guys. I'm a huge sucker for Christmas type stuff. So when you have a story that's set in New York during Christmas time, and you have that, was it Andy Williams? That's the most wonderful time of the year. I'm so over the moon for this, you guys. But here's the thing. Marvel crafts really great trailers. I'm not, I don't want to sit here and hate on one. I'm not gonna hate on WandaVision. I'm not gonna hate on Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm not gonna hate on Loki. They're all really good shows. Falcon and Winter Soldier kind of fell a little short for me, but WandaVision was excellent. I loved it, except for the last episode. Meh. Loki was. It was great. But I think it's also fair to say that so far, the 3 Marvel shows that we have seen, the quality, even though it looks cinematic. It does. And they promised us a cinematic looking show. And they have. But the length of the episodes, everything that's kind of packed in there is a certain quality level, and I can't quite put my finger on it. It doesn't really quite feel like a movie. It does feel like a television show in terms of quality, in production. The look of it, the scope of it, they all look fantastic. But I don't know. They just haven't quite been there for me yet, you know? They're yet to be a Marvel, an MCU Disney Plus television series that has just blown me away, except for WandaVision. WandaVision actually did kind of blow me away. It was a smaller self-contained story and had this really interesting back and forth. It felt small screen because that was the story. That was the story. It was supposed to feel that way. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier they gave us this, I don't know, promise they made us think, whether they made us think or we made us think, right? That Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going to be over the top and incredible. The story was going to be so expansive. We're traveling all over the world. We never really had a central villain. We never had a central villain. Like, who really was the bad guy? Because whether it was, I can't think of his name, the other Captain America, like the new Captain America guy, yeah, he was kind of a villain, but he was also kind of a hero, but he was also kind of a villain. He had one foot in both worlds, right? Baron Zemo, was he the villain? Was he the bad guy behind everything? Well, I mean, he was the villain in Civil War, but he actually kind of helped Falcon and Winter Soldier get to where they wanted to go. And then he just kind of disappeared. And then you have, man, I can't remember any of the names of these characters, right? The woman who was in charge of, like, she was heading up, like, that terrorist organization. It wasn't, I mean, like, yeah, it was within the show. Yes, it was a terrorist organization, but they also had, like, a good cause behind them. And, like, you understood why they were doing what they were doing. And she wasn't that, I don't want to say that, you know, killing people isn't bad. Of course it is. And, you know, that's what she was doing to further her cause. But the way she was portrayed, like, you understood her. You understood why she was doing what she was doing. You emotionally empathized with her. And so she kind of didn't become the villain either, right? Anyway. So with this upcoming Falcon, with his upcoming Hawkeye show, it looks like it's being clear-cut and defined. Not entirely sure who Vera Farmiga is going to be playing, but I assume some type of villainous role. We have this teacher-student kind of relationship going on of, like, you know, passing the torch, passing the baton. We know that there are certain characters popping up. If you've read Matt Faction's Hawkeye, or if you know anything about the future of Hawkeye in the comics, there's various iterations, but in one iteration, Hawkeye goes blind. In another iteration, Hawkeye goes deaf, or rather is made to be deaf. And maybe one of the characters who makes Hawkeye go deaf makes an appearance in this. So, what, like, if Jeremy Renner is kind of being phased out of the MCU, which I kind of hope he isn't. I really like him in the MCU. I love his character Hawkeye. I like what he did with Ronan, even though Ronan never really got a moment to shine on screen. Haley Steinfeld. Steinfeld or Steinfield? Haley. My goodness, she's just so interesting to watch on screen. And the dynamic of what they played out in this trailer looks fun. This looks like a fun show. And I think that's what the heart of all of these Marvel properties are, is that they're just fun. Falcon and the Winter Soldier seemed to forget about the fun a little bit. For me. It wasn't really a fun show. Loki brought so much fun. It was weird and experimental, and the story was all over the place, and there's a lot of moments where people are just sitting and talking, or walking and talking. But there's a lot of exposition going on, and a lot of character development that doesn't really, I'm not going to say it doesn't go anywhere, but it just kind of sits, you know? If the rest of the Hawkeye show is like what they portrayed in the trailer, it just looks fun. It looks exciting. It looks like it's going to be full of action, and just I'm all for it. And Christmas, I'm all for it. I'm all in. But guys, what I want to hear is from you. What are your thoughts? What did you think of the Hawkeye trailer? Do you think it looks incredible? Are you excited for it? Do you share my thoughts about the Marvel Disney Plus shows that have come out so far that I mean, we set our expectations up here, but they're kind of met down here. They're not bad. They're not bad. But they don't quite reach the expectation of what we see in the trailer. Do you think the Hawkeye show is going to meet the expectation of what they've set in the trailer? Or do you just think it's a really great trailer? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. All right, guys, we have one more topic to cover real quick before we jump in and take some emails. Twins is back in the news with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's right. Ivan Reitman is coming back to direct a sequel to Twins. Now, ever since like 2012, it's kind of been rumored or like talked about that, you know, they're kind of looking into doing 2012. It just hit me. That was 9 years ago. Wow. It's weird. It's weird. All of the 2010s to me have kind of been a blur, right? It's all kind of been a blur. But now I'm just realizing, wow, that was 9 years ago. Anyway, so it's been talked about for about 9 years that Ivan Reitman kind of wants to come back and do a sequel to Twins. It was being developed by, or rather, like an idea was sparked from Eddie Murphy. So it was kind of rumored, well, hey, maybe Eddie Murphy is going to come back and play kind of like the long-lost brother of these two wackadoo characters. Well, 9 years later, we finally have confirmation, yes, a Twins sequel is happening, but also we have our confirmation of who the third brother is going to be. Tracy Morgan. It sounds wonderful. It sounds wonderful. As this article from Collider points out, Eddie Murphy had to back out of the project because ever since My Name is Dolomite and ever since Coming to America, which is, I still contend, is a terrible title. Because that's so confusing. It's Coming to America 2. Come on. Come on. You have to put that emphasis in there. Coming to America versus Coming to America. Ugh. That's just, it's annoying. Yeah. If you can't have Eddie Murphy, and of course, like, Eddie Murphy seems like he would be, like, the perfect choice for that, right? You have Danny DeVito, you have Arnold Schwarzenegger, who were at the height of their powers in the 80s. My goodness, those two were just unstoppable juggernauts in the 80s. And to have another 80s icon in Eddie Murphy, a comedic icon, my goodness, that would round out the cast so perfectly. But having said that, Tracy Morgan is incredible in his own right. In the late 90s, early 2000s, Tracy Morgan totally dominated SNL alongside, other people like Molly Shannon or Will Ferrell. Tracy Morgan is so funny. Here's a fun story. As you guys know, I live in New York City. And this was years ago. This is maybe like 13 or 14 years ago. This is a long time ago. I was standing in line at Whole Foods, and somebody cut in front of me, just like with their shopping cart, just cut in front of me. This dude and his girlfriend. I was like, what is happening right now? No, stop it. And I looked up. It was Tracy Morgan. And I'm like, what? Tracy Morgan just jumped in front of me in line at Whole Foods? You got to be kidding me. It's like one of those whenever somebody meets like Bill Murray, or like Bill Murray like pulls a prank on somebody in public, and then he whispers in the ear, "Nobody's ever gonna believe you." Yeah, I kind of feel like it was one of those things of like, Tracy Morgan just cut me off. Anyway, nobody's gonna believe you. Anyway, I think this sounds wonderful. I'm very much excited. First of all, I'm excited for a Twins sequel. I mean, the first Twins in what, 1988, I think, if my math is correct. It was one of those oddball. There's a lot of oddball movies that came out of the 80s, you guys. There's a lot of oddball movies that came out of the 80s, but Twins was one of those like cultural icon films that was so weird. It developed this this cult following. To this day, people rave about Twins. People love that movie. People will stand up and defend that movie. It's, in all candor, it's not the best movie of the 80s. It's not even the best comedy movie of the 80s. But it's fun. It's fun. It's silly. It's lighthearted. We understand what it is. We understand, like, the whole. It's just a weird, wackadoo kind of fun romp kind of movie. Just like a good feel-good kind of movie. And to know that, you know, Ivan Reitman wants to do a sequel and add Tracy Morgan, I'm in. I'm in. Count me in. I want to see this now. But guys, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about the upcoming Twins sequel? Are you of the opinion that maybe they just shouldn't do one? Maybe they should just kind of leave well enough alone? Or are you on board with this? And you're like, yeah, I'd actually kind of like to see Tracy Morgan in the role of the third long-lost sibling brother. What are your thoughts? I want to know. Jump on down to the comment section below. All right, guys, with all of that out of the way, now it's time to jump in and take your live your live emails. We've had a few emails come in over the week, and our first email of the day is this. First email comes from the Nerd Zone. Now, last week, Nerd Zone sent me an email. He knew that I was going to be doing a different start time today, so this is his subject. He says, since I will be at school next show, here are a few things you can talk about. And he listed off a whole bunch of different things. First of all, Diary of the Wimpy Kid animated Disney Plus movie comes out December 3rd. And yeah, it does. We knew from last December when Disney did their Investors Day meeting, it was very public. We got a lot of information about upcoming projects, Disney Plus, they're putting a huge focus on Disney Plus, as they should. You know, they're Disney. Disney Plus is it's going to be their big moneymaker moving forward. It's going to be their big moneymaker. So they're trying to put a huge emphasis on Disney Plus, releasing content for adults, releasing content for kids, and releasing content for everybody in between, right? So one of those things that they announced at the Disney Investors Day meeting was a new Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie. Now, I think it's safe to assume that the animated Diary of a Wimpy Kid film currently is going to become a series. I think that's a foregone conclusion. But yeah, if we, let's jump into this article from Collider real quick. We get to see, there's obviously a few photo stills from the film, but we get our first official look at the poster, and here we see Greg's feet standing in front of all of his other classmates in front of a piece of stinky cheese saying "New School, Old Cheese, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, original movie streaming December 3rd. And that's the official movie poster there. But yeah, there's no trailer out for it yet, but I like the idea. I've never read the books. Full disclosure, I've never read the books. But I like the idea of this being an animated film, or hopefully, fingers crossed, a series of animated films, as opposed to the live action films. The books have a certain, yes, artistic value, but it's a certain feeling. The illustrations create a very specific world or universe for this character, or, the series of characters to exist and live in. And there's certain qualities and traits that you can bring, you can get across in an animated film that you can't quite capture in a live action. Now, conversely, there are other traits and characteristics that you can put into a live action film that you just can't quite get in an animated film. I think Diary of a Wimpy Kid is the perfect property to keep as an animated property, right? Peanuts, Charles Schultz, Charlie Brown. When the Peanuts movie came out from, was a Blue Sky Studio, I believe, I was so thrilled. I was so thrilled, enamored. I loved that movie so much. It felt like you were watching like the old Charlie Brown shorts. Like granted, it's 3D animation. Okay, fine. But like they did their due diligence in how do these characters look in 2D? How do we do a 3D version of a 2D character? And now that it's an easy question to answer. Well, you just render the entire thing. But they were very specific. Now I'm talking about Peanuts as opposed to Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but I mean, you guys still get the point here, right? They were very specific as to how they wanted the characters to look. If you rewatch the movie, the Peanuts movie, you notice you only see this side of Charlie Brown and you only see this side of Charlie Brown. You don't see everything in between. You only see Charlie Brown here and Charlie Brown here, and everything else is 3D animated. Even his face is 3D animated. It has dimension. But you see this side and you see this side. You don't see everything in between. And that was the magic. They knew how to do it properly. In honor the original illustrations, honor the 2D animation that came before. So that's what I'm saying. There are certain properties that you, or certain things that you can only get across in animation that you can't do in live action. Now, the live action Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, they did well. You know, they did well enough. Well enough that they spawned 2 sequels for a total of 3 films. So I'm hoping that that is what this film is going to turn out to be. I mean, granted, I've never read the books. I only ever saw the first movie. It's not my particular cup of tea. However, I'm actually really kind of interested in seeing the animated movie. Because, again, it captures a certain essence that you can't capture live action. So, I'm interested to see what they're going to do here, but I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about the live action? What are your thoughts about live action versus animation? But what do you want to see from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the animated film? Do you think they're going to create multiple sequels? Do you think this is going to be a series of films on Disney Plus? And how excited do you think the general viewing audience is going to be about that? I want to hear your thoughts about the whole shebang down in the comment section below. All right, guys, our next email today also comes to us from the Nerd Zone. And the Nerd Zone says, again, since you'll be at school, here's a few more things to talk about. And this particular topic is Batman audio adventures coming to HBO Max. So I had to look this up. I had no idea what you were talking about, Nerd Zone. I looked at, I read your email and I'm like, what is a Batman audio adventure? What is in coming to HBO Max? I don't quite understand. Now on my phone, I have a whole bunch of the old school Superman, I guess you could call them audio adventures. But it was the old 1940s radio serials that came out. I think there's so many episodes, and each episode lasts, what, like 20 minutes, 23, 25 minutes, something like that. And it's an audio play because that's what they had in the 1940s. That's what they did. You sat around the radio and you listened to these audio adventures, full and complex with, you know, sound effects. I was going to say special effects, but they have these sound effects of, oh no, crash, there is lightning outside. Well, what do you think we're going to do, Batman? I think it's time that we go kick some trash. You know, like that kind of thing, right? So, Nerd Zone, when you emailed this to me and I was like, Batman audio adventures, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, HBO Max apparently is producing a podcast that will be published on their streaming service, HBO Max. It will be, it's hard to describe because yes, there will be a video element to it. Now let's scroll down. Let me just go to the thumbnail of the trailer. They released a trailer for this, and as you can see, it's just a radio that it's like a 1930s kind of Art Deco style radio that looks like these two towers in the middle of Gotham, and then you have the bat signal just produced right in the center of this radio. But it looks as though this incredibly well-produced, high-quality podcast consisting of 10 different episodes like the Adventures of Batman, essentially, is going to just look like a radio sitting on a table. Maybe the camera will shift focus from one side to the other, but it really looks like HBOMax getting into the podcast game, into the high-quality, well-produced podcast game, is going to start streaming this on HBOMax, which it blows my mind because it's two very different mediums coming together in a way that my mind is having a hard time understanding what it is. It's an audio play being shown as a video, but there's no video. It's just an audio play. Is there any video? Well, probably just a radio sitting on a table. Are you watching it for the video? Probably not. What else are they going to show? It's an audio play. It's an audio adventure of Batman. Let's jump up into there's a very, very brief description here on Entertainment Weekly, where they say, gather round here, 10 tales of life and death in Gotham City. EW can exclusively reveal a sneak peek at Batman, The Audio Adventures, a new narrative-driven podcast narrated by funny man Chris Parnell and featuring the voice of Jeffrey Wright as the Caped Crusader. Two incredibly big names. As we go through this, there are so many more huge names attached to this. Now, in this trailer, you do hear a few quotes from a few different voice actors, one of which is Rosario Dawson saying, just a single girl and her cats living alone after all. John Leguizamo playing the Riddler, or it drives me nuts that right here Entertainment Weekly says AKA Mr. Enigma. His name is Edward. His name is Enigma. Enigma. He's an enigma. So, I don't know, it just kind of pokes the bear a little bit for me that they call him Mr. Enigma. Anyway, John Leguizamo can be heard saying, don't freaking interrupt me when I'm riddling, which is like a very Riddler thing to say. Let's jump down to the cast for a second. It includes Brent Spiner as the Joker, Bobby Moynihan as the Penguin, Heidi Gardner's Harley Quinn and Miss Tuesday, Alan Tudyk as Alfred, Brooke Shields as the reporter Vicky Vale, Melissa Villasenor as Robin, Seth Meyers as Jack Ryder, Jason Sudeikis as the Gotham Mayor Hamilton Hill, Paul Scheer, Fred Armisen, Tim Meadows. My good, and of course Jeffrey Wright and Chris Parnell. Like, this thing is jam-packed with talent. Jam-packed with talent. I'm very excited for this. Again, the article in EW goes, Batman, the audio adventures marks a hefty push from HBOMax into the podcasting space and will arrive on September 18th. That's this Saturday. The first episode is going to drop this upcoming Saturday, which sounds awesome. I'm very excited for that. Which is officially Batman Day. Here's another thing. Written and directed by SNL alum, Emmy-winning scribe Dennis McNichols, the 10-episode arc takes place years into Batman's term as the vigilante crime fighter when he decides to become an official employee of Gotham City. So on and so on and so on and so on. yeah, once I was able to kind of wrap my brain around what is this thing? How is it, like, it's an audio adventure, but it's on HBOMax. It's on like a video streaming service. Once I was able to kind of wrap my mind around this idea, around this concept, I'm in. I love this stuff. There's something about podcasts that I have a hard time with. I'm not a huge fan of podcasts, which is weird because I watch YouTube so much. YouTube and podcasts are basically the same thing, right? But I'm a visual person. If there is an audio play, it puts me in my imagination and I can visualize what's going on. That's why I like those Superman audio dramas. Here, I'm pulling it up on my iTunes right now, jumping into playlists. I love them so much. Look at this. I made, you can see some of my other playlists here, which may be embarrassing. But look, I have the Superman radio shows right there. It's like all of these episodes of, oh no, I'm going to delete something. All of these episodes of Superman radio shows from the 1940s. They're fun, they're exciting, they're adventurous. And when they're going through the storytelling method, it doesn't just have, well, I'm talking, well, I'm talking, well, I'm talking, well, I'm talking. You have a narrator telling us what's going on. And it sounds like Chris Parnell, like when you watch the trailer, it's only a 40-second trailer. But when you watch the trailer for Batman Audio Adventures, it sounds kind of perfect. It sounds like they're trying to recapture that 1940s kind of feel, that craft, and have a high production value of, oh, there's the crack of the thunder, and oh, he's clicking the gun backwards. Click. Like, this is going to be, in my opinion, produced with music, sound effects, letting us know, setting the stage. I love it when a story comes to life in that regard. Audiobooks. Why did I not think of audiobooks before? Yeah, this sounds like it's going to be an audiobook version of Batman. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the audio adventures of Batman coming out on HBO Max this Saturday? So what, in like 4 days? Coming out in 4 days. Wait, see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 3 days. It's coming out in 3 days. I will definitely be listening to it. I'm excited for it. I'm interested to see how they're going to take this and what direction. Is there ever going to be a season 2? What's the audience reaction of this going to be? I want to hear everything on your brains. Let me know down in the comment section below. All right, guys, we have one last email to cover before we jump into the live comments and see what you guys want to talk about live on the air right here. And our last email of the day comes to us from the Nerd Zone. Like I said, Nerd Zone sent us a long list of things to talk about. In this particular email, Nerd Zone says, people want Marvel Zombie series after the Marvel Zombie episode in What If. By the way, best Marvel thing I've ever seen. It was fun. It was great. It wasn't a perfect episode. There's a lot of holes in that episode. But here's the thing. It was fun. A lot of people have been talking about, both online and in person, about, meh, this Marvel What If show isn't what I thought it was going to. Chill out, you guys. Chill out. Marvel's What If on Disney Plus, while yes, contained within the MCU multiverse, I guess, as canon, what did we expect? What did we expect? This is a fun romp. It's called What If? What if this? Now, yeah, granted, there's some episodes that I'm not a huge fan of, like the T'Challa Guardians of the Galaxy episode. Wasn't for me. For other people, it's their favorite episode. Great. Wasn't for me. But each episode is just a different adventure. And I understand, like, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm describing something that everybody knows what it is that I'm describing. But I don't feel like the What If series was designed or meant to be like this over the top, like, oh my goodness, I can't, oh, it's changing the world. Like, it's not going to be this over the top, incredible show that changes everything. It's just for fun. It's just, hey, let's just do something silly. Let's just do something for fun. And the Marvel Zombies episode, not the least of which is it was just fun. It was just fun, you know. Anyway, so we can hash this out to death. But with the emergence of Marvel's What If Zombies, it kind of brings into question a little bit, is there going to be a movie? Like, is there going to be a movie? And it doesn't help the rumor mill at all that Mr. Mark Millar, that's right, Mark Millar. If you're familiar with Mark Millar, longtime Marvel Comics writer. Mark Millar was the guy who wrote Civil War, like that eventually inspired the movie Captain America: Civil War. He wrote the comic, amongst many other comics. I believe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but did he not also write Injustice for DC? Correct me on that, please. But yeah, I mean, Mark Millar is an incredibly prolific writer. He knows what he's talking about. He's been with Marvel and, you know, DC. He's been writing comics for ages. So in a recent newsletter that he sends out to fans, I assume monthly. I don't subscribe to his newsletter, but in a very recent newsletter of his that he sent out to his fans, he included a little quote right here. So let's just Millar wrote the original Civil War story, and in a recent newsletter wrote, if my sources are correct, a little live-action Marvel Zombies further down the line. But you never heard that from me. Okay. So what does this mean? Like, we don't know who his sources are. I don't even really know, like I do know why he would say that, just to, like, spawn interest and kind of, like, you know, stoke the fire a little bit, right? I don't think that there's anything to talk about just yet. This is a comic book writer. I mean, this news is on the same par as when oh man, I'm forgetting the creator of Deadpool. Oh man, why am I forgetting everybody's names today? When the creator of Deadpool takes to social media and says, oh, I have it on good authority that Deadpool 3 is going to be coming out next week, or, you know, something like that. So it's not official. It's not coming through official channels. Now, Mark Millar is a prominent figure within the Marvel family, however you want to quantify that, right? So I'm not going to say that there is zero credence to this. There very well may be. And again, we don't know who his sources are. But if this is to be trusted, if we can put any stock in this quote, in what he wrote in his newsletter to his fans, it could be really cool. I think this is something that a lot of people have wanted to see, even long before we got the Marvel What If. Long before Marvel What If. Marvel Zombies was something that I remember reading one of the series of Marvel Zombies, and there was this one was it the Punisher? I think the Punisher somehow, like, evaded the virus or whatever that infected everybody, and so Punisher was just going around, like, killing you know, these zombie heroes over and over and over again, specifically Deadpool. So it was fun to watch Punisher. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was Punisher versus zombie Deadpool. Maybe that was the comic that I read. But it was so fun because you can't kill Wade Wilson. he keeps regenerating. So it's fun. It's an interesting concept to see like this zombie Deadpool that just can't die, right? He keeps regenerating back into zombie form. Anyway, that like when I read that, I thought, oh my goodness. And it was right around the time that iRobot came out with Will Smith. iRobot? No. I Am Legend. Excuse me. It was right around the time that I Am Legend came out. And it was this whole like, this would be a really fun movie to see. This would be just silly and wackadoo, and I'm in. So if the MCU, if Disney would ever consider doing a live action Marvel zombies, that would be really fun. I think people would really be into it. There would be a big audience response to it. I think positively so. I think a lot of people would be into this. Which would be a huge push for Disney to do it. The question that I have rattling around in my brain is, are they going to do it? I don't know. I don't see why they wouldn't. But at the same time, a Marvel Zombies film wouldn't necessarily fall into a type of category that Kevin Feige historically has been building towards. That being said, we're getting the multiverse very, very soon. Like, we're going to jump into the multiverse this December in Spider-Man No Way Home. And then we'll take another romp through the multiverse in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, directed by Sam Raimi. So, I mean, maybe the introduction of the multiverse will open up for more like open world storytelling, for contained stories, for isolated stories that still tie into the MCU, but don't tie into the MCU. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it could, like, we very well could get more crazy, wackadoo, independent, like the Joker movie. The Joker movie is so good, but it doesn't tie into any of the other movies. It's just a standalone thing. But if you call it a multiverse, then it's all tied together. Anyway, you guys, you know what I'm talking about. I want to hear what your thoughts are about the idea that we might be getting a Marvel zombie live action. And that's the thing. Mark Miller never said it was going to be a film or a television show or maybe even just like a 10-minute short. There's no description as to what this is. All he said was live action Marvel zombies. And that's a huge rumor in and of itself. We don't know what this could be. We don't even know if it might be. But I want to hear what your thoughts are. Do you think that there is credibility here? Because Mark Miller is so closely tied into the Marvel family. Do you actually think that he knows what he's talking about? Or do you think this is a little bit more wishful thinking? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for all of our topics that we're going to discuss today. Now I want to jump into the live comments. A bunch of you guys have been firing in live comments and questions all show long, so let's jump in and talk about it right now.
It's alive! It's alive!
All right, you guys, let's jump in and take your live comments and questions. You've been firing in all show long. Oh, we have a few retracted messages from Stupid Dummy. Oh, man. Well, shoot. All right, well, we'll just jump in with Nerd Zone. Nerd Zone says, hey, man, Saws. Sorry I'm a little bit late doing school. Hope you got my email. I did. I got multiple emails from you, sir. Thank you for those. I'll be addressing some of those, obviously, live on the air, and some will be, thank you, by the way, thank you. And good health to you as well. Nerdzone says, this does remind me of Peanuts. Yeah, right? So the Diary of a Wimpy Kid poster and like some of the stills, the photo stills that we got back in December, which It seems like not that long ago, but thanks to COVID time, that was 10 months ago, almost. 9 months ago. It was a while ago. But yeah, anyway, you're right. It does kind of have that Peanuts movie feel to it. And I hope that that's what Disney does with this franchise, with this property, is that they can turn it into a series of films and keep it going. Because it feels like the live action movies were decent. They were made well enough, I guess. But it just makes more sense for this to be an animated property. When you look at the book, when you look at the style of animation, not just the illustrations versus live action. Well, of course they look very different. But what am I trying to say? Yes, it looks different, but there is a certain vibe. There's a certain quality that you just can't replicate in live action if that's what it's supposed to be in illustration. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. There was a series on YouTube that made Greg a xenomorph. What? What? Well, now I'm going to have to look that up. That sounds ridiculous. And like I said, I've never read the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. But there's a quality about them that it is interesting to me. I think because I may have aged out of the target demographic. But I mean, the same could be said for Ninja Turtles. I've definitely aged out of that target demographic. But I also grew up with Ninja Turtles, right? They were part of my childhood. So I'm emotionally invested. I did not grow up with Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Diary of a Wimpy Kid came out when I was in college. So it missed me. I missed it. So I have never been that invested, but there is a quality to it that I am interested in. There's a certain je ne sais quoi. Should anyone care to use? Yeah. I would be interested in checking that out because I do love me some xenomorphs. Even though the vast majority of the Alien movies are terrible, Alien 1, hands down my favorite. Aliens was good. I really enjoyed Alien 3. I understand everyone's complaints, and who was it? David Fincher didn't quite get to make the movie that he wanted to make. It wasn't a real David Fincher movie, but it was still fun. It was weird. I liked it. Nerdzone says, I thought Winston Duke was going to be Batman in this podcast. And you followed up with, Mike, you were technically a podcast. I know, right? It's weird. It's weird to think that I don't like listening to podcasts, but I watch my show that I do. I watch other people's shows like this on YouTube all the time. I think it's because I desire that visual component that podcasts don't offer. And if it's just, what I do, people just sitting around chit-chatting, I enjoy to watch the chit-chat as opposed to only listen to the chit-chat. Which is why audiobooks or audio plays are so much more enjoyable to me. Years ago, when I was in high school, and even there was a brief stint where I used to live in Ireland, we used to sit around and listen to various audiobooks and audio plays because it gives you that sense of imagination. It's not just talking heads, right? It's not just two people having a conversation. It's not My Dinner with Andre. If you had to listen to the audio play of My Dinner of Andre, I guarantee you there would be no stage direction. It would just be talking heads. And that's not something I'm particularly interested in listening to. Even though plenty of people are, that's not me. That's not what I'm into. But Winston Duke as Batman would be awesome. I'm all in. I also love the idea of Jeffrey Wright being Batman. It's kind of interesting that he plays Commissioner Gordon in... my goodness. I totally lost my train of thought. Yeah, he plays Commissioner Gordon in the upcoming Robert Pattinson movie, The Batman. And now he's going to be playing Batman in the audio adventure. So I think that's really cool. Nerdzone says, I have a creative writing task for my English work, and it has to be gothic. We've been looking at text from women in black, and we will be looking at Jekyll and Hyde next. Got any recommendations? Let me you follow that up by saying, I'm good at my gothic tasks, and my teachers love them, but I just want to hear your recommendations. I have a creative writing task for my English work. We've been looking at a text from women in black, and we will be looking at Jekyll and Hyde next. Got any recommendations? I'm maybe I'm just completely missing what it is that you're saying. It has to be gothic. Can you send me an email, Nerdzone? Send me an email, because on the surface, I think I know what you're talking about. Or like, are you talking about gothic works, like other published works that you can kind of like draw inspiration from? I'd have to think about this for a second. Let me sit on this one for a minute. The more classical gothic works are not something I'm intrinsically familiar with or well versed in. Let me sit on this for a minute. Let me sit on that for a minute. Nerdzone says, also, how fun does Hawkeye? Definitely Christmas family fun. I'm assuming you mean look. It looks so fun. My goodness. But I still go back to the same point that I made earlier, which is all of the trailers that Disney has put out, or Marvel, I guess, for their shows on Disney Plus, make the shows look so incredible that if you miss that show, you are missing out on a whole experience. And while I really did love WandaVision, it didn't really stick the landing for me. I loved the small-scale storytelling in WandaVision because that's what the story was. The story was meant to be small and contained, and it didn't have like a huge impact on the bigger world. Falcon and Winter Soldier, however, was huge in scale, but they were telling a very small story. So, again, the dissonance between those two things, and there wasn't ever really a clear-cut villain. All of their villains turned out to be, good guys. Kind of. I mean, they all had 2 feet, both of their feet in 2 different worlds, right? Zemo was a bad guy, but he was helping you do a good thing. The terrorist, and I can't remember her name, like the head of the terrorist organization with like the hand face thing, insignia. She was a good person doing bad things. And then you have the new Captain America, who was a good guy who turned out to be a bad guy who was still kind of a good guy in the end. But he's selfish. Like, that's his evilness, is that he's really, really selfish? I don't know. I don't know. But then Loki. Loki was great. But it was also a smaller story. Like, for a show that has such huge ramifications on the MCU, not a lot of stuff happened. There was a lot of running around. But not a lot of stuff happened, And it looked grand. The production looked great. But not a lot of stuff happened, You kind of see where I'm going with this. So with Hawkeye, it looks fun. I love Christmas. I love shows taking place during Christmas. I love movies taking place during Christmas. So one of my favorite franchises of all time, the MCU, doing a Christmas show, or rather like a show taking place during Christmas. By the way, really looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. That's going to be amazing. This gets me excited. I love the trailer. I love the dynamic. I love the characters. I love everything of what they showed us. I loved it. I loved it. I wish they would have showed us a little bit more Linda Cardellini. Or Cardellini. Where was she? I mean, Hawkeye was on the phone with her, but like, I don't know. I kind of wanted her to pop up in the trailer. I hope she's in the show. I hope they didn't pull a Gwyneth Paltrow and kind of write her out, but like she's still there. But we don't need to see physical manifestation anyway. Yeah. But yeah, I love it. It looks bananas and it looks wonderful. I just hope that it doesn't fall into that not trap. I just hope that it doesn't. I hope that it lives up to what the trailer promised. I don't feel like any of the other Marvel shows have quite lived up to what the trailers have promised. But I hope this does. I hope it does. We'll see. Nerdzone says, by the way, my smell is getting worse. Ooh, that's not great. Okay, so I didn't have plans on revealing, because it kind of felt like some of the emails that you've sent me in the past, Nerdzone. Now he says, I can only eat dairy, chicken, and fruit. Some of the emails that Nerdzone has sent me over the past few months, as we're talking about movies and whatever, he's revealed to me, and stop me if I'm telling tales out of school, but he has revealed to me that a few months ago he had COVID. He had COVID-19, and as a result, now he's really starting to, I guess, kind of deal with some of the fallout from being a recipient of COVID-19, losing a sense of smell and everything just tasting putrid, being some of those side effects. So here saying that his smell is getting worse, everything smells awful, I can only eat dairy, chicken, and fruit. Let me try and pull up one of these emails that you sent me. I probably won't read the whole thing. Okay. Well, maybe I will read the whole thing. It's pretty short. Let me just preview this just to make sure it's you can make this public or you can keep it private, just as a warning for people that might. Okay, so yeah, I think it's fair. I think this is a fair game. Nerdzone sent me this email that says, so if you remember, I got COVID. Well, when I did, I lost my taste and smell. 2 weeks later, my taste comes back and my smell doesn't. Cut to last week, where my sense of smell is coming back, but it was a rotten, awful smell. Most food smells rotten now, and I can only eat dairy, rice, and plain pasta. I found out it's something called parasymia. I hope I'm saying that right. Parasymia. It's hard to explain, so I'll send you a link from the NHS website. But basically, I can't eat a lot of things, and I'm feeling a bit depressed about it because I can't eat my favorite foods, and and smells from other people's food makes me gag. So it's man, this. So many people. Let me rant about COVID for a second. And this is going to be in conjunction with my flight attendant job. You guys know I work on an airplane as a flight attendant. The main part of my job now has been enforcing the mask policies. Everybody must wear their mask. The only stuff that people are talking about is how deadly is COVID? COVID is way more deadly than the common flu. But still, the statistics of people surviving, of getting COVID and surviving, are pretty good. If you get COVID, chances are very likely that you will survive. You'll go through hell for a couple of weeks, and then you'll come out on the other side with antibodies. Your body will fight the virus. And you'll come out on the other side for the most part, fine. There is a small percentage of the population that is passing away from COVID, which is terrible. And it saddens me that there are people out there that want to pretend like this isn't that big of a deal. It's just like the flu. So what? If you get the flu, maybe we're all supposed to wear masks now? Yes! That's what other cultures have been doing for decades, if not longer than that. If you feel sick, wear a mask in public. And this is a concept that it took COVID for Americans or, Western civilization to even stop and think about. We never stopped to think about, like, well, hey, we spread germs. It's just a part of life. Think of the lives that could be saved if you wear a mask in public when you're not feeling well. Granted, okay, like there's a lot of people that die from the flu every year, but it's in comparison to the rest of the population of the world, it's not that much. Stop and think about that for a second. It's not that much. Not that many people die. What are we saying? We're openly accepting the idea that it's okay for people to die when you have the power to not pass on something that might kill somebody? How selfish. How incredibly selfish is that of you? That's the first thing. The second thing that we talk even less about, we talk about the side effects every now and again of like losing sense of smell or losing sense of taste. We know that these are side effects, but when you say, oh yeah, I got COVID. Yeah, I lost my sense of smell. Okay, it doesn't seem that terrible. Think about that for a second. You lose your sense of smell. You only get 5 senses. You only get 5 senses. And if you're, if you believe in kind of like the more mystic, like the third eye type things, we'll say 6. We'll say you only get 6 sense. Intuition. Let's call intuition your 6th sense. Okay? So let's just say you have 6 senses. If you lose 2 of those, smell and taste, you've lost a third of your senses. You have sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, and intuition. And from a medical journal, they don't even count intuition. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. So you just lost over a third of your senses. And you're just like, meh. That's fine. It's not fine. It's not healthy. And it's not what the human body was designed to do. You are not supposed to lose your sense of smell. You are not supposed to lose your sense of taste. Think about that for a second. For a lot of these people who are losing their sense of smell, okay, maybe it comes back, but also maybe it doesn't. And it's okay that we're just walking around willy-nilly. I don't need to get vaccinated. I don't need to wear a mask. How selfish are you? Stop being selfish. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about everybody else around you. And if you're walking around saying, oh, I don't mind if you lose your sense of smell. I don't mind if you can't taste anything. What kind of psychological damage does that do on a person? You can't smell. You can't taste. That's hell. That is a living hell. Now, I say I try not to use foul language on the show, but call hell for what it is. If you call it foul language, if you call it not foul language, whatever. It is what it is. That's a living hell to not be able to smell or taste anything. And who knows if you're going to get those senses back. So Nerd Zone, to you, my friend. First of all, thank you for sharing that, because it does bring awareness, or, you know, maybe a little bit of, can we just talk about this for a second? It's not, the topic of COVID isn't just a life or death conversation, which it very much is, but that's not the only part of the conversation. Let's also consider the fact that people are really being impacted, and not just in losing a third of their senses, smell and taste, but it's impacting other health. It's having other ramifications on people's health as well. I know having COVID has been linked to having certain variations of lung disease, heart complications, other autoimmune disorders. The list goes on. And if you're just the kind of person that just says, I'm not concerned about me. I'm not concerned about you either. I'm concerned about everybody. I'm concerned about, if you don't want to be concerned with your next door neighbor's health. I've had this discussion with a cousin of mine. And, you know, he keeps coming back around to the idea of, whoa, why should I have to wear a mask? Like, well, everybody in my town has already had COVID. First of all, it doesn't mean that you can't get it again. And second of all, why are we tempting fate? If you have the power to do something, do something. That's why we have heroes in our pop culture, not just superheroes. That's why we are drawn to these stories of redemption and, we love the concept of police officers and firefighters. Like, these are real life heroes. And we love telling their stories. Yes, we also love telling stories about superheroes too. But, doctors, people who go out of their way to help other people. We're inspired by this stuff. And if you are so selfish that you can't put on a mask when you go to the grocery store, then you have no business eating. Go be a farmer and grow your own food, because nobody wants to breathe your nasty air. And if you live in a community where everybody shares those same ideas, well, then keep it to yourself. Don't leave your community. Don't let anybody in. Don't let anybody out. I know this is hyperbolic. I know this is a proverbial thing that I'm talking about here. But, stop being so selfish. It's not about you. It's about protecting other people. Well, are you saying that if I have a common cold, I should wear a mask on? Yes. This is where we're at now. Here's the thing. If you claim to believe in the Bible, or, whatever your version of religious text is, and you believe that the end of days are coming, and that the end is nigh, right? If you believe in that, why are you just rolling over and letting it happen? Aren't you going to fight against it? Aren't you going to try and do your part to protect people? Isn't that what Jesus would do? Is that not what Jesus would do? If Jesus had the opportunity to protect people, if he had the flu, and the medical science behind spreading diseases was available, if Jesus was living now, would he be wearing a mask? Or would he be walking around saying, I'm not worried about you. If I give you the flu, you'll probably live. You might get sick for a little while, but you'll probably live. How in the world is that an acceptable answer? It's not. It's not. Nerdzone says, we aren't doing masks in the UK anymore, but if someone would want me to wear one, I would. That's how, like, if you're outside, like the CDC has been very open and very public in saying, if you've been vaccinated and if you are outdoors, you don't need to wear a mask. Like, the probability of transmitting this virus from one person to another outdoors, if you've been vaccinated, is so ridiculously low. Like, almost negligible, right? But if you're indoors, I mean, because here's the thing. If you've been vaccinated and you're indoors, chances of transmitting the disease or even getting the disease is, again, it's negligible. But here's the thing. We don't know who's been vaccinated. We don't know who hasn't been vaccinated. Stores, restaurants aren't going to test every single person that comes and goes from their establishment. That's not practical. I don't even know if that's legal. It might be. I don't know. The logistics of this are so complicated that it's just easier for just across the board. Human beings cannot be trusted. If my time working in customer service has taught me anything, it's that human beings are terrible to each other. We're terrible to each other. We don't care anymore. We should, but we don't. So yeah, you probably don't need to wear a mask in public. But people aren't responsible. People don't always do the right thing. The vast majority, I can't tell you how many people have yelled at me for A, receiving the vaccine, and also B, going off on a rant that how the vaccine is laced with microchips from Bill Gates and how it's all about control and it doesn't actually do anything and, oh, we're all sheep and puppets, and get out of here with your conspiracy garbage. That's... You know how hard it is to orchestrate a conspiracy? Get out of here. Nerdzone says, I'm already sad right now, eating strawberries and sandwiches only, and it's boring. Thanks for your support, Mike. You're an amazing man. If being a decent human being makes me amazing, this world is so far gone. I mean, anytime you pick up a newspaper, what's a newspaper anymore, right? Anytime you pick up a newspaper and you look at just read the headlines, it just makes your heart sink. Open up a web browser, see what's going on in the news. Look at Facebook. Everybody's terrible to each other. We don't respect each other anymore. So by me just being like doing the bare minimum of, yeah, I'll wear a mask. I've been vaccinated since February. My goodness. If that's what it takes to be amazing, is just be nice to each other. Say, please, thank you, and I'm sorry. That's all it is. Just say, please, thank you, I'm sorry. That's like, my goodness. Nobody says those three things anymore. If I accidentally bump into somebody on the airplane, you know what the reaction is? Why did you bump into me? I was drawing. Well, I'm sorry. It's a confined space. How did you not realize that sitting in a really tiny little bubble that somebody might accidentally bump into you? If this drawing of yours is so precious, why are you doing it on an airplane? What about turbulence? Are you going to get mad at turbulence for messing up your drawing? Get out of here. Ugh. You guys, I've ranted about COVID long enough. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of people being garbage people to each other. That's why I try to promote a little kindness. Just speak kind words to each other. Love each other. Look out for each other. If you have an opportunity to, like, do a random act of kindness, my goodness. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. But yeah, I think the only person watching this rant right now is you, Nerdzone. So, thank you for that. You guys, thanks so much for watching. This brings us to the end of the show. If you like this show, if you like what it is that we're doing over here, click that like button. If you really, really like this show, click subscribe. And if you really, really like it, click share. Because that is exactly what all masked individuals would want you to do. You guys, if you have a topic of conversation that you want to talk about, if you want to send me some information, something that you think I missed, something you want to bring up, excuse me, spark for the first time, send me an email at godalovethammovies@gmail.com. As long as it's family friendly, we'll make your topic of conversation a main point of discussion here on this show. You guys, like I said, we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness into the world today, please take that opportunity. Please speak kind words to each other. And as always, in the words of the wild stallions themselves, Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I will... As I'm getting ready to sign off, what is it that I'm about to say? I will see you next week at the normal start time, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week. You guys, I will see you next week.